The Game Awards has already announced their nominees for Game of the Year, and it's a solid list. But if we were the ones deciding, we'd actually only keep 2 of them in their place. Those being Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Replacing the rest are Dispatch, The Alters, Split Fiction, and Blueprints. But only one of them can be the winner, so let's debate over each of them and decide Cyberstuff XR's Game of the Year. Starting with the most recent release, and one I cannot stop seeing on social media, and that is Dispatch.
I absolutely love this game. It is probably my favorite game I've played this year, and that is because it is just like watching a TV show. The animation is incredible, the gameplay is really fun. Like I got so into it, and honestly the main thing is the story, the writing, characters, and the choice you have to make, no matter how big or small, actually felt quite tough, and you had to make sure you were making the right one each time. And overall I just got really into it.
Yeah, like you said, it's not just like a TV show in its appearance, which it absolutely is, but also in the writing. The story is, I think, up there with some of the best video game stories ever, and that's what you'd hope for in a choice-based game like this. I really did like some of those bigger, tough decisions. Who to romance, there is one right choice, but I can't go into that for spoilers. Who to cut from the team, also another right choice, but I won't go into that. Who to bring into the team, again, I won't say it again. But even though I'm taking strong stances on these choices, they weren't easy. They really weren't. And there's absolutely been a debate in the community about each and every one, for good reason. I know you picked pretty much the opposite of everything that I did, but still sort of ended up in the same place at the end.
That's probably kind of one of the only criticisms I have of the game. Despite us picking kind of the opposite for the majority of the game, our ending was pretty similar. We compared what happened at the end. Yeah, one thing did change. I kind of got the quote-unquote better ending, but the overall ending was still pretty similar. And though when you're playing the game, it makes it feel like these choices are a huge impact, and they do have impact. Really, upon reflection, they're not quite as meaningful as they first seem, I think is kind of what we got from it. But for me, other than that, I just wanted more, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, we absolutely hope that happens, and by the success the game's had, I think it absolutely will. As a character-driven game, you really do want to spend more time with these characters. Across the game, you decided many of their fates, and you really made a connection with each and every one of them. Like, I've got my favorites, you've got your favorites, we're very defensive of those favorites, and it would be nice to spend more time with them and have choices that impact them more. So hopefully that's what they can deliver on in a hypothetical season 2. But like we said, it hasn't quite reached that Game of the Year potential just yet, and that's why it's nominated, but hasn't quite won, in our opinion.
Blueprints really shocked me with how much I enjoyed it, because I went into the game knowing nothing. Yet every time I loaded this game up, I could not stop playing it, because the roguelike puzzle structure had me fully wrapped up in just trying to figure out more and more and more. The concept of the game is quite different, in that you're in a mansion and you unlock different rooms as you play through. It's just such a unique style. Each room had a new discovery, and it felt so rewarding finding a room that you found 5 playthroughs ago finally coming in handy. It's just like nothing I've ever played, and because of that, it really is one of my top games of this year.
I know I didn't play quite as much as you, nor did I get nearly as far as you. I don't know what that says about me, but I can really appreciate the type of puzzles here, the sort of old school Myst style where you're encouraged to take notes. It's something we really haven't seen in a long time, and I think it's perfectly executed here. Even though we did both really enjoy it, it did get to a point towards the end of our time where we'd sunk in probably tens of hours, and a lot of that towards the end did become monotonous repeats of puzzles we'd already done. And while the roguelike structure is certainly interesting and a huge appeal of the game, it did eventually get a bit grating.
At first, it's not a problem because there's just so many different mini puzzles and story elements to figure out and unlocks to get. But towards the end of my time playing it anyways, it felt like I'd unlocked 80% of the stuff. Now what that meant is you were kind of relying on luck to try and finish off your last puzzles just based off what rooms you got, and it did start to get a bit boring, and it was unfortunate because we still really enjoyed it, and I appreciate every bit of design that's gone into the game, even if it doesn't quite take the top spot.
Moving on to the only co-op game on this list, and yet another multiplayer masterpiece from Hazelight, and that is Split Fiction. Somehow they managed to cram in even more variety and impressive gameplay mechanics, even when compared to something like It Takes Two. Just such a dynamic and varied experience with all the side stories and the hidden secrets, and each level introducing a new piece of gameplay. And of course, the incredible art direction that just made each chapter absolutely beautiful in its own way.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with basically everything you said, and I think the best form of comparison for this game is its predecessor, It Takes Two. And I think it was worse in a few areas and better in one, in my opinion. I'd say It Takes Two story was just better. And it's hard to describe that without saying what happened, but It Takes Two was just heartfelt. It had some kind of emotional weight where every little thing that happened just felt so important and crazy, and every word you can use to describe a story. Whereas this one just felt a little bit weaker, a little bit less on the emotional side. However, there was one specific part of this game that I feel was arguably better than It Takes Two's gameplay, which was the ending. And the ending to this game has one of the coolest bits of not just co-op gameplay, but gameplay that I've played in a long time. Without saying too much, you kind of merge gameplay with your teammate. But overall, despite being by far my favourite co-op game of this year, it's just not quite as strong as It Takes Two, and so it's not our best game of the year.
Moving on to what I feel is one of the most criminally underrated games of 2025, and one of my personal favourites, and that is The Alters. This is sort of a survival game, but in the loosest possible definition, as it really takes on a bunch of different genres that bring it to life as an experience. You've got the base building on a hostile alien planet, the conversations you have with your crew, and also how you bring about your crew by cloning yourself and altering your life's history to influence their personalities. So it's not only really how you manage your base, but also how you manage the relationships with the members of your crew who are yourself, pretty much. But because of their life experiences, they're drastically different, and you really have to keep in mind how to approach them and how to treat them, how to not get on their bad side, how to not make them chop their arm off, for example. Because this not only has an impact on gameplay, but also story.
Yes, I mean, I haven't actually played this. I've only seen you play bits of it and seen some stuff online. But one of the things that I found most interesting is that it's actually just one actor playing 11 different versions of the character, which is honestly impressive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Alex Jordan was the actor, and it's such a shame he didn't get nominated for Best Performance at the Game Awards, because there's a very convincing argument to be made that he deserves to win. These 11 different versions of the character, like you said, are all incredibly different in their own right, not just their personality, but also their voice. They have different accents, different tones, which may not make sense from a story perspective if you're just editing small parts of their life. But it really does bring each character to life and makes them feel like a significantly different individual and make you develop a connection with yourself. Because that's really one of the most important parts of the game. These alters can rebel against you. They can go on strike. They can, like I said before, chop their limbs off. So the story really isn't just about which ending you get, but also how you manage your relationships with these clones of yourself. So I really did enjoy the sort of combination of gameplay and story here, while also having to manage your base on this hostile planet where every second counts. You do have a finite time in each day before the sun moves ever closer to your extinction. So even though I'm not that into survival games and these type of experiences, the characters and the choices here that are so difficult really brought this game to life, and it's absolutely one of my favorite games of this year.
Moving on to the most nominated game in the Game Awards history, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game deserves every award it's been given, and this isn't just because of the fact that it's evolved the turn-based genre. This is everything from story, world building, just a unique concept overall, an incredible soundtrack, whilst on a very small budget with insanely impressive effort from a small indie team.
Yeah, like you said, it would be an excellent game because of all of these qualities alone. You know, the evolved turn-based combat, the incredible visual design, the soundtrack, which has been played millions and millions of times by fans. But for me at least, and I think most other people, it really is the story and characters here in this terrifying but immensely intriguing setting that make this one of the most impressive games ever made. The twists and turns at every corner that just pull on your heartstrings in the most agonizing way, and the much smaller, intimate moments between characters that really help you get to know them. I really can't say anything more because this is absolutely a story you have to experience for yourself, and I don't want to rob that of you, but it's just amazing in every way, and I can absolutely understand why it's sweeping every single award show. But for me at least, there is one game that sort of plays into my interests a bit more, but both of these are absolutely Game of the Year material. But there can only be one, so the Cyberstuff XR Game of the Year is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
This is an absolutely enormous RPG that's so immersive and so realistic to a level that I've never seen before in any other game. 100 hours after meeting a character, you could stumble upon them again while exploring, and they'll pay you back because you helped them all that time ago. This level of detail is honestly just insane. It's a living, breathing world that is a joy to exist in. From the story to just relaxing in the tavern, playing dice while listening to music. And I know you're even more passionate about this than me, as it's one of your favourite games, not just of the year, but of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. I could so easily get lost in this world for hundreds of hours, and I have. And I probably will sink even more hours into it with all the DLC and the repeat playthroughs you can do that are so different each time because of the immense amount of choices you can make, and just the autonomy the player is given to approach every single quest in whatever way they like. And the game will always respond. There's never only one way to do something. If you're asked to buy an item from a vendor, you can instead pickpocket them, and there will be consequences to that. You'll probably get told off or make less money because of it. The reactivity of this world and its characters are on another level to any other game ever made. I do feel this is sort of the successor to the Bethesda style of RPG, where those games have arguably gotten a bit too comfortable with the handholdiness and just how familiar they can feel sometimes. This game is the absolute antithesis of that. And while I do enjoy all of Bethesda's work, I was itching for something different, and this absolutely delivers that in spades. Not only do you start the game covered in mud and smelling disgusting, but you're also stupid and hungry and injured. And throughout the game, you level up your skills by actually using them. If you want to get smarter, you can read books. If you want to get more talented with a sword, fight more using a sword. If you want to be more charismatic, you'll have to exhaust all the dialogue options in every conversation. It really is just the most immersive video game ever made. And this really is a world you'll want to be immersed in, with its commitment to historical accuracy and plenty of charming characters, many of which are real historical figures, and they're so expertly brought to life here. Everything about this game is so grand and expansive and impressive, in a way that finally achieves everything they set out to do with the first game back in 2018. There really is nothing like it. It's the most fun I've had playing a game in years, and it's easily our game of the year. And according to these poll results, you agree. But do let me know what your favorite game of the year was in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, see you next time.